Good morning and welcome to Morning Scoop for Friday, April 15th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Moore. The spring game is in 1 day, the Notre Dame game in 141 days, the game against Michigan in 225 days. That spring game is indeed tomorrow. It is looking like it should be a really nice day, but if you are planning to watch from home, make sure you join Tony Gerdeman, Kevin Noon, and I for our live pregame show. We'll get going sometime around 8:30 or 9. We'll kind of have to see how the day shakes out, but once we are rolling live, we'll have a full preview of the game, what we're expecting, and of course, answer all of your questions. You will be able to watch that live at youtube.com/BuckeyeScoop on Saturday morning. We know a lot more about the format for the spring game now than we did a day ago. Ryan Day met with the media to discuss it all. There were definitely a few big surprises, so today you're going to get a chance to hear all of it directly from Ryan Day, including how much tackling you'll see on Saturday, a few of the players who will and won't be participating, his biggest areas of concern and comfort with the team right now, where the fiercest one-on-one battles have been this spring. As always, these clips are courtesy of the Ohio State University Athletics Department. And let's start with the format for that spring game, which sounds like it's going to feature a lot more contact than you might have expected. And then you're also going to hear some more details on the tributes planned in memory of Dwayne Haskins.
For the spring game itself, we decided we're going to kind of go offense versus defense format. For that, we'll probably start off in a little bit of a thud and then quickly go into tackling. The majority of the game we will tackle in this spring game. Looking for a great crowd. We are going to do a little bit of a couple things, to tribute. For Dwayne, will be at the end of the first half. We'll do a video for him and a moment of silence before, and still have a few other things that we're going to do to recognize him symbolically. So, really excited about Saturday. We have a lot of great recruits coming in, a lot of people coming in for this clinic, and it'd be nice to have Buckeye Nation together, for this event on Saturday, to celebrate our team and the hard work we've put in this spring, but also to get everybody together, to honor Dwayne. And I think that's appropriate. And so it's, there's going to be a lot of excitement, but also, some, a lot of, moments in the day that'll be deep thoughts based on, just our memories with Dwayne and playing in that stadium. So excited about the weekend.
Jim Knowles' defense has been probably the biggest topic of conversation all spring. So what can fans expect to see from Jim Knowles' defense on Saturday? The answer is probably not a whole lot of the more exotic stuff. Probably going to be a lot more basic than you might want to, you as fans might want to see.
He's not going to do a whole lot of his stuff in this game. He's going to play, it's going to be about fundamentals and running around to the football and playing hard. I mean, we've seen throughout these first 13 practices, just the multiple looks and the confidence and how well these guys play and just how decisive they are out there. And I think that's been done. Now, get an opportunity to go play in the shoe and in front of a big crowd. I mean, it'll be very, very basic, and but it's good for our guys to get in front of the crowd and play and have some fun and see some of the best players in the country.
Even if he is going to keep it basic on Saturday to keep from putting too much on film for Ohio State's opponents, Knowles and his players have worked hard to install a bunch of the defense already this spring. The idea there is pretty much the exact opposite of keeping things bland for the spring game. In that case, when they're behind closed doors during practices earlier in the spring, they want to have as much film of as many different looks as possible for them to coach off of between now and fall camp.
I think with our players, one thing that Jim would probably tell you is that he's been impressed with how professional they've been in terms of their preparation, being able to handle high levels of information. And because of that, you're able to put a bunch of cut-ups together for the next couple of months to watch on film. And that's the idea. First off, you got to get fundamentally better, but when you're installing an offense or a defense, you want to try to get some of that stuff on film so you can teach off of the film over the next few months as you head into August. And so I think they've done that. I think they've put a bunch of that on film. And I think, we've all been impressed with how much they've been able to handle in the volume while still playing with really good fundamentals.
Heading into the spring game, two true freshmen, Kai Stokes and Caden Curry, have both lost their black stripes. So what has impressed Day about those two that made them the first to lose those stripes? You're going to hear that, and then you're going to hear a follow-up from Dan Hope of 11 Warriors.
Caden plays with a high motor. He's a really good football player. Plays a lot bigger than he is. They're really intelligent, quick twitch. I think he's going to be a heck of a football player. Kai Stokes, the first thing you notice is his smile and his attitude every day is just excellent. It's just contagious. He's constantly just have a lot of energy, but on the field athletically, he's got a really high ceiling. His movement is excellent. His range, his ability to change direction, his ball skills, covering skills. Kind of see he's tackled a little bit here, but we'll see how he tackles in the game. But so far, so good with those guys.
For those young guys in particular, how important is the spring game in terms of an evaluation tool to see how they perform in that setting?
You know what you see in practice, and typically, early on they get a little nervous in the first time out there, but they settle back into their training, and that's what we always say. You always revert back to your training, and when you're in environments like that with high stress. But it's rare that all of a sudden you get into the stadium and you start to see something that's completely different. That's happened before. Some guys struggle with that, and we try to help. But for the most part, they're going to go back to how they are training themselves during practice. When you put it out in the field. And we're calling it, we call that competitive excellence. So once you get out there, you're really able to do it. And the more you do it, the more confidence you can have when you're out there. And so, I expect these guys to play with a lot of confidence out there and enjoy the day.
Heading into the spring game, most fans' first question, of course, is going to be about the quarterbacks. That's true pretty much every year. So what is the plan for this year? Will Kyle McCord pretty much exclusively be with the 2s and Devin Brown with the 3s?
Yeah, that's probably how we'll play it. But CJ won't play the whole game with the 1s either. He'll play for sure, but we'll quickly start to roll those other guys and try to make it as equal as we can, just rolling them and trying to get as many reps as possible. And the more reps they get under their belt, the better, especially in the stadium.
What is Ryan Day most pleased with at this point of the spring? You said 14 practices under his belt now, 1 more to go. What has he been happiest with the team heading into the spring game? And conversely, what is his biggest concern with the team right now?
I think the depth of the O-line is a little bit of a concern. I think that, a little bit of the depth at safety is a concern. I've been pleased with, the starters in terms of the offensive line and some of the play there. But we still have a little bit of work to do there. I've been pleased with the defensive line and the depth that we have there. Some of the corners who have been competing every day in practice have gotten better and better. I think that they've been really doing a great job. I've been very impressed with Tommy Eichenberg. I think he's really had a really good spring, playing fast, really decisive. I'll forget some guys and somebody will be upset with me, but there's been some really good play across the board. And, we went through the entire roster yesterday and kind of talked and evaluated them as a staff. And there's been a lot of guys who have improved. So across the board, we're in a much different place than we were last year, just with our experience. And that combined with, the new scheme on defense, it's been a good spring. It's been exciting. It's been a challenge. And guys are at different levels of their development. And then we're going to get a new group of guys that come in here in the summer. 3 of them are offensive linemen, and those guys are going to have to come in and, get going fast because we're going to have to continue to build that depth because, you try to find 5, then you try to find 6, then you try to find 7. We got to find at least 8 or 9 that we feel good about putting in the game, which we did last year. We had that depth, and we were able to roll guys, and really we've had that for a couple of years when you think back. I don't know if we have that right now coming out of the spring, and that's a little bit of a concern.
The concern with the offensive line depth is real. I mean, think about how often you've seen an offensive lineman get rolled up on and have to go out for a drive or more, and they have to bring someone in to replace him. And then you've also undoubtedly seen teams with sort of shaky offensive lines struggle to do much of anything on offense, regardless of skill talent. So how did it get to this point for Ohio State? Is it misses in recruiting? Is it not developing players as well as they should have? What's to blame here?
It's probably a little bit of both, I guess. But a couple of the guys that we were counting on to have big springs were out, so they just didn't get the reps, and that's a little bit more of injury than anything else. And when you don't have the full 15 practices of spring as an offensive lineman, it hurts. You just don't. But nothing you can do about injuries. You just got to keep working through it. So that combined with 3 of the guys are coming in this summer. So I think as we get into the preseason, we'll feel a little bit better about that depth and have 16 guys on scholarship there. But the development in that for those younger classes is going to be critically important to continue to build. But I feel really good about 6 or 7 of them, and we just got to keep building and try to get 8, 9.
If you have followed his career as a head coach, you know Ryan Day does not like to go too in-depth about injuries, but he was asked about the status of a couple guys who have been banged up sort of long-term. Offensive lineman Josh Fryer, safety Lathan Ransom, and running back Marcus Crowley. Those guys are all out now. You're not going to see any of them on Saturday, but are they expected back before the start of the season?
Yeah, we expect Lathan and Josh to be back this summer and ready to roll. Marcus is still, we haven't really got into the details of that, and I got to check with Marcus and figure out where we're at with that. But that'll be a little bit more of a long-term deal, and so we'll probably get more information out to you on that next time I get up here. I haven't thought of that, but we haven't talked about that publicly. But his will be a little bit more of a long-term deal.
The format for this year's game is a little bit different. Normally, you divide the team into two. You've got the Scarlet offense and the Scarlet defense, and the Gray offense and the Gray defense. Instead, they're just going offense versus defense this year. So what made Day decide to go with that format instead of the more traditional Scarlet versus Gray?
Because I think that, we are a little light in the O-line. And so I think in order to, keep it where we can roll guys in the depth and not running guys across the field and, being more organized, I think this is a better way to control who's in the game. Also, it allows us to have a couple where we're going to do some thud and not tackle early in the game. And although it's not going to be Scarlet and Gray, we're still going to get just as many reps. But it allows us to, mix and match guys and have guys play for the offense and defense, where if it was Scarlet and Gray, we would need them to play on both sides of the ball. It just becomes logistically a little harder to manage.
Another guy working his way back from a long-term injury this spring is safety Josh Proctor. Now, you will probably remember he suffered a compound fracture in his lower leg against Oregon, but he's sort of been slowly working his way back and doing more and more in practice every week over the last month. And there's actually more encouraging news on his progress. It sounds like Proctor may participate in some of the spring game before they switch over to tackling.
I think physically he's getting there. Learning the defense mentally, and just there's a lot going on there. And if you're not getting those reps, like he wasn't the first really half of spring, you kind of playing catch up, which he's doing a little bit. I mean, you obviously know his ability, but he's going to have to be able to handle the amount of defense that we have in. And so because he missed the first half, he's still catching up a little bit there. But I know the coaches and he'll work really hard over the next couple months to catch up.
We talked earlier about them kind of starting the spring game with thud, or just kind of a two-hand touch, and then switching over to more tackling. Now, the quarterbacks are going to be off limits all day on Saturday. You'll see them in black no-contact jerseys, so no one's going to be tackling the quarterbacks. But even so, the decision to do more tackling for everyone else in the spring game, that honestly is a little bit surprising.
Well, I just think we need to play the game this year, and we got to go out there and tackle and play, and I think it'd be good for a lot of our guys to do that. Get out there, and the first game of the year we play Notre Dame at home, and that's we got to be ready to roll. So once you get into the preseason, you start getting closer and closer to that first game. You start to really hold your breath because you don't want to lose guys. But we got to tackle. We got to play physical. We got to be tough. I mean, if we want to reach our goals this year, we're going to have to be that way. We're going to have to play that way. So we'll do that on Saturday.
You always hear players and coaches talking about iron sharpening iron and how the competition during spring camp makes everybody better. So what has been the most competitive, or maybe the best, one-on-one battle this spring for the team?
There's been a lot. I think, the defensive ends against the tackles have been good, and there's been, wins on both sides, but you talk about making each other better. Those have been really good. On the perimeter, I think when you look at the way that Denzel and Jordan and J.K. and Cam, two young guys are competing every day against our wideouts. I mean, those are fistfights every day, and I think if you can get open against those guys, you're going to get open against a lot of guys in the conference. And if those guys can cover some of our wideouts, then that's a good sign for them, and that allows them to play with a lot of confidence. So those have been good. I think when you look at the interior of Donovan, Luke, and Matt against some of our interior defensive linemen, there's been some battles there. But it's been competitive, and guys are getting after it, and there's good energy on both sides. And I think those are probably the ones where there was the best matchups.
We talked earlier about how everyone's always excited to see the young quarterbacks in the spring game, and this year, of course, is no exception. You got a couple of five-star quarterbacks sitting on the bench in Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. Well, they're going to be off the bench on Saturday. They're going to be out there playing. McCord likely with the 2s, Brown likely with the 3s. But what is Ryan Day looking for out of his young quarterbacks on Saturday? What does he want to see out of them?
Yeah, to just make the routine plays routinely and run the offense. You don't have to do anything extraordinary. We're not going to see a lot of crazy blitzes or anything like that. It's not going to be a challenge schematically. It's just going to be a matter of getting the snap, making the right read, delivering the football, handing the ball off, reading the right guy, and just managing the game and being able to do that or not, locate the football, make the right reads. In that type of environment, where you got probably more than half of the whole stadium filled, and it's going to feel like a game. And so you get an opportunity to see how they do with live bullets going on. Now they're not getting tackled, but still you get a feel for who's moving the offense. And you don't need to do much more than just make the routine plays routinely, especially with the players that we have.
And finally, one of the more surprising moves this spring was Ronnie Hickman, the leading tackler on last year's team, switching positions. He went from the bandit or boundary safety to the adjuster or free safety spot this spring. So what did Day and the defensive coaching staff see from Hickman this spring at that new spot?
First off, he's an excellent tackler, and he just has a good feel for the game. He's totally bought into what's going on. I think his relationship with Perry's excellent. I think he really loves the defense that we're running. You really feel him out there in practice every day, and I think if he continues to build over the next couple of months, he's got a chance to have a big year.
Well, again, this is your last chance if you are interested in going to the spring game on Saturday. The weather looks like it should be pretty good. Should be a nice day. Should be a fun chance to watch the team sort of send out spring ball and head into the start of the summer. You can get your tickets online at ohiostatebuckeyes.com. They cost $7 a pop. It's general admission, so if you get there early, you can park right next to the stadium for free. Walk on into the stadium and get yourself whatever seat you want to. If you've ever wanted to sit on the 50-yard line or in the front row or in the top row of D-deck, this is your chance. You can sit wherever you want, basically. So if you want to do that, you can buy your tickets at ohiostatebuckeyes.com. And if you are not going to be there in person, or if you're going to be tailgating and want something to watch during the tailgate, make sure, again, join Tony Gerderman, Kevin Noonan, and I for our pregame show. We'll be doing that live sometime probably between 8:30 and 9 at youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. If you have not subscribed to that channel, hit that bell on the YouTube channel, and then you get notified as soon as we go live, so you won't miss it. Should be a fun show. Always a lot to talk about before the spring game. Lots of players who we don't necessarily get a chance to talk about in the fall. We'll get a chance to talk about now. Lots of position battles we can talk about. Lots of developing stories. All sorts of fun stuff. Plus answering all of your questions. All at youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop Saturday morning. Be there. We will be. We are very excited to have another live pregame show to bring to you guys. Look forward to those. And then of course afterwards we'll have a live postgame show as well. Same spot. youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. Probably half an hour, 45 minutes or so after the game. We'll have that one on there as well. So that'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.